Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another episode of the Tigers Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Schulte, and it's been a while. This podcast is being recorded on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024, and it's been a couple weeks. There have been some throat issues. There have been some other issues. There was a holiday last week. There was a holiday the week before because I live in Canada, so I get 2 holidays in the span of 7 days. That's one of the very, very, very many joys of living in another country. You get to celebrate holidays on multiple occasions. Anyway, with that, honestly, we didn't do anything for the Victoria Day because why? She's old. She's dead. She's not even a queen anymore. Anyway, we're not going to go there. Let's get into the injury report. Kerry Carpenter is on they haven't really put him on a list yet, whether it's the 10-day injured list or the 60-day injured list, but he is out, and Akil Baddoo has been called up to take his place. He is out with a lumbar spinal stress fracture. That's easy for me to say. Lumbar spinal stress fracture. It is not known as to how long he's going to be out for. They thought it was lumbar spinal inflammation at first, did some x-rays, did some other MRI things, basically did some tests, and turns out it's a stress fracture, which is going to be a while. He's not going to be around for a bit. He's going to be doing some rehab, and Akil Baddoo is up in his place. The Mark Canha has a psoas strain. He is not on any kind of injured list. He actually played last night. He's still with the team. They've not made a roster move for him. He was playing first base last night. And the reason that he was playing first base last night is because Spencer Torkelson has been optioned to Toledo. Spencer Torkelson had 4 home runs, was only hitting .205. At one point, he led all of Major League Baseball in doubles, but he's just not hitting. He's not hitting. He's not in a good space mentally because he's not hitting, and he's not getting it done. So, you know what? They sent him down, and it's the way that baseball works. You don't perform, you go away, unless you're Javi Baez, in which case you don't perform, you stick around and collect your big contract. So that's the injury news. Shelby Miller is dealing with ulnar nerve inflammation. I guess the way that they deal with that, and it sounds kind of painful, the way they deal with that is they actually take a syringe and somehow stick it into the elbow where the ulnar nerve is and actually inject high pressure water to assist in getting rid of the inflammation. That just sounds like it hurts. But, I'd rather do that than have an inflamed ulnar nerve. I don't know. But he should be rejoining the team today or tomorrow. He's had a couple of rehab appearances at Toledo. The biggest issue there was Dylan Dingler was trying to throw the ball to second, and Shelby Miller got in the way and got hit in the back with Dylan Dingler's throw. So, good times. Outside of that, not a lot going on the injury front, which is good. Andy Ibanez, of course, is back. Gio Urshela is back. And like I said, the Kerry Carpenter situation is really the biggest that they're dealing with right now. So, with all that being said, Detroit went through it and came out on the other side. It's been 2 weeks. When we last left you, Detroit was getting ready to start a series in Kansas City. They had lost 2 out of 3 to the Marlins, been shut out twice. They then proceeded to take 2 out of 3 from Arizona. Then they went through a 5-game stretch. They lost 5 in a row, and they looked absolutely pitiful in doing so. Tarek Skubal actually gave up a ton of runs in a very short amount. He didn't last more than 4 innings. The entire team just fell absolutely apart. Getting outscored 9-1 by Toronto at home. Getting outscored, I think I did the math, and it came up to something like 26-9 in 3 games against Kansas City. In Kansas City. So, that season series, by the way, is now even as they swept. Actually, it's not even because they got swept by Kansas City, so it's 4-2 Kansas City now. Detroit has some work to do on that front. But they went through it, and look, they've come out on the other side. They took 3 out of 4 from Toronto. They then proceeded to last week. They took 2 out of they split with Pittsburgh. Then they took 3 out of they split with Boston. And last night they took the opener in Texas. So they're getting back on track. Are they going to all of a sudden? It's a funny thing about baseball. It's a very funny thing about baseball. And I imagine other sports are like this as well. I really haven't paid that much attention. It's easier to get into a losing streak than it is to get on a winning streak. So it's easier to lose 7 out of 10 than it is to win 7 out of 10. You can lose 7 games in a row without too much effort. But if you want to start getting on a stretch where you're winning 7, 8, 9 in a row, you have to really work at it. You got to go through a couple of situations where you win 2 out of 3, and then you win. You split a series, and a couple of 500 weeks here, 500 weeks, winning week there, and then you get to the point where you actually start winning in bunches. And Detroit needs to get to that point. They're 30-30, but they're still way back of Cleveland. They're like 10 games out, and they got a lot of work cut out. They got their work cut out for them, but they'll get there. There's still 102 games left, folks. Now, I'm not saying Detroit's going to go 102, but they'll get there. They've still got a very good shot. They've got as good a shot as anybody else other than the White Sox at winning this division. And the White Sox, well, it does my heart good to see them lose. So, anyway, the big news is that Justyn-Henry Malloy, when Spencer Torkelson got sent down, Justyn-Henry Malloy comes up. Very first pitch he sees in Texas, he takes deep to the warning track in right center field and has a good swing. Then he struck out, but he doesn't look overmatched. He doesn't look above, or he doesn't look like he's intimidated by being at the major league level and intimidated by major league pitching. So that's a good sign. And also during the time that we've been away, Colt Keith has hit his first 2 home runs. So he's finally off the schneid there. This team's going to come around. This team's going to be okay, folks. With that, I'm going to go ahead and thank Anchor for distributing the podcast. If you want to check the podcast out on YouTube, you can. YouTube.com/@TB Podcast. I'm on Mastodon @TB Podcast, @tweetscape.social. I'm on Twitter @Podcast Tigers. You can email the show, TigersBaseballPodcast@gmail.com. That's the longest email address in the world, and I'm proud of that. With that, I am going to say thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next week, and go Tigers.